What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are doing the BYU breakdown per request. Got this one from Twitter. If there is a team you'd like to hear about, you can leave a comment below, reach out on Twitter. All that stuff helps the algorithm as well. So if you want to support comments, likes, subscribing to the channel, all that really helps. And I appreciate you if you've done that. Thank you. Let's get into BYU. There are a couple nuances with this team that are unique. BYU, they're typically an older team. A lot of their kids go on mission trips. So as we get to recruiting and talk about the roster, a lot of the recruits that aren't with the team right now, it's not that they transferred somewhere else. A lot of them are just flat out on mission trips. And the recruiting rankings for some of these players that are actually going to start go all the way back to like 2018. They're also a team that doesn't recruit that well. They take a lot of walk-ons. They pillage the transfer portal in Utah. They take a lot of kids from Utah Tech, Southern Utah, schools like that. So West Coast transfers, you're going to see a lot of them with this team. And lastly, they're a team that develops talent at a much higher level than they recruit it. So they're a very tricky team to evaluate. And that brings me behind the glass. Let's talk about this team and what they did last year. Here are their efficiency metrics. BYU had an awesome season after they were projected to be in the bottom two, along with Arizona State, funny enough. But that just speaks to Kalani Sitake and his ability to get the most out of players you're not expecting. This is now his 10th season as head coach. His record is 72-43, which I think is very impressive considering it's BYU. He's brought BYU to 7 bowl games. Last year, they were 11-2. They barely missed out on a chance at the conference championship. Some tiebreakers kept them out. But yeah, this team, they are awesome. And Sitake's been a great coach for a long time now. Most of the time he's bringing this team to bowl games. He was previously a defensive coach with Utah and Oregon State prior to that. And he now has some continuity in his coaching staff. This team brings back Aaron Roderick at offensive coordinator. He's been with the team for a few years now, and he's been kind of known as a quarterback whisperer at this point. He's worked with Jake Retzlaff, and we've seen him improve over the years. We've also seen him work with Jaron Hall, who had a cup of coffee in the NFL. And now there's some continuity on the defensive side of the ball. You have the same DC, Jay Hill, who took over in 2023, previous coach of Weber State. He improved this unit to 45th overall last year, and this was a big reason why they ended up winning a couple of important games. This team beat SMU. That was a complete defensive outing. They won 18-15 on the back of their defense, and they shut down some other high-profile teams in this conference. It's tough to look at the bowl game where they played Colorado. There are a lot of opt-outs in that game, but this team only held Arizona to 28 points. Arizona State, excuse me. It was a pretty good outing overall throughout the entire season from them. And then their overall efficiency metrics, as you can see on the screen, this team did have some places of weakness. They were not a good rushing team. They basically lived through their aerial attack. On defense, they didn't have the greatest pass rush or coverage unit, but they were able to mask a lot of that. Up front, good special teams team, very good passing the ball on offense. And their roster has a lot returning this year, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that I think is a good crux for where you can start this team. Recruiting-wise, we mentioned it. They're not the best recruiting team. BYU has some obvious standards that they uphold with their program. They're 55th overall this year, 44th last year, 58th in 2023. The bars you're seeing on the bottom, the graphs, that's their retention. Again, just because we have a 52 and 53% doesn't mean they're being pillaged. A lot of these kids are just going on mission trips. This year, I don't know who's going on all the mission trips yet. We'll have to find that out in the summer. So they're currently at 100%, but definitely not all their recruits are going to be on the roster this year, especially. Let's move forward to the roster this upcoming season. This is our usage tool we have for the players available in a Google Doc. I will release this to the public after the portal closes in the spring window. Basically what it is has a depth chart 2 deep projected for offense and defense. You have the year the player is, their snaps the last 2 seasons, whatever recruiting ranking they were, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and then a value metric. Think of this almost like a Madden rating that tries to quantify how good a player is across positions. It starts with your recruiting ranking, and the more you play, the less that is taken into consideration. Players in yellow are transfers. If you see anyone in red, that means they're injured. Spring ball, it's really hard to tell who's actually injured and who's not. Down at the bottom, we have key reserves. As you can see, BYU does not have a lot. They do not recruit well. Then we have the transfer portal, incoming versus departing, and then the key offensive and defensive departures on the far right. So with BYU, they bring back Jake Retzlaff at quarterback, who had an above-average season. He actually finished with some pretty decent efficiency numbers. He was the 57th ranked QB in 2024, completed 58% of his passes, over 2,900 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The big question with him is he did have 12 big-time throws and 18 turnover-worthy plays. A lot of what Retzlaff put on the field was his receivers doing work for him just simply game managing, delivering the ball into the right space, and then letting his elite receiving core do the work for him. And he did have elite receivers. He should have pretty good receivers against this year. Retzlaff does offer mobility, which is solid. 4.2 yards per carry, finished with 417 yards. You're starting with a solid foundation piece in Retzlaff, which is awesome for BYU. They also have experienced backups. Former Utah State transfer McKay Hillstead and Western Michigan transfer Trayson Bourget, both on the roster. Neither played last year, but both of them do have starts from 2023. Not much to really be said. They transferred for a reason and are backups for a reason, but it's nice to have some experience on the roster. Running back has been a point of weakness for this team, especially last year, but they do return LJ Martin. He's now led the team in rushing the past 2 seasons. Last year, 718 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, caught 10 passes. He's 6'2", 220, so he has good size. But they don't have much behind him. Their second leading rusher, Hinckley Rapati's gone. Sion Moa has played well, I think, in very brief stints on the field. 29 carries, 144 yards. That's 5.0 yards per carry. But behind him, I mean, we're talking 81 snaps from Enoch Nawahine, 47 snaps from Pokiawa Wanga. Both of them are 205 pounds, so that's solid. But, man, pretty unproven behind Martin and I guess Moa. We'll see what the running back gives you, but I'm not projecting a big step forward for this team. Maybe very slight if Martin can stay healthy, just with year-over-year growth. At receiver, you lose Darius Lassard, you lose Cody Epps to transfer. You do return Chase Roberts, which is a fantastic place to start. 6'4", 210, played in and out of the slot. Actually, 40% of his routes came from the slot. But Roberts is now a 3-year starter with BYU. Last year, he caught 52 balls for 854 yards. This is an elite player. As you can see on the screen, we have him as the best overall player on offense, just slightly ahead of LJ Martin at this point, also ahead of Jake Retzlaff. So you have the alpha receiver, which is why this receiving game was so good last year, and pass game. Number 2 should be Keelan Marion. Last year, he was the 3rd leading receiver. 24 catches, 345 yards, and 1 score. He's a former UConn transfer, 6 feet, 195 pounds. BYU moves these receivers everywhere. He was a 32% slot player, but I think he's the pretty safe wide receiver 2 in this offense. And from there, I think there's a little bit of a question. I'm going to clear my throat quick. Thanks. Sorry about that. Springtime allergies are starting to get me. But I think there's 3 main candidates for the wide receiver 3. And one thing BYU has done in the past is sort of rotate this position. And they rotate receivers a fair bit. JoJo Phillips was 4th on the team in receiving last year. He's the first candidate. 211 yards on 10 catches, 266 snaps. He's a big-bodied receiver at 6'5", 205 pounds. So it's kind of overlapping with Chase Roberts. Then we have 4-star Cody Hagan. He's now a sophomore, played 44 snaps last year, but only caught 3 passes. They just don't have a lot of 4-stars on the roster, so I feel like it's hard to keep them off the field at a certain point. We'll see. And then lastly, gadget guy Parker Kingston's going to have some role, whether he remains a 15% snap player and he's out there for gadget, passes, screens, end-arounds, I don't know. Or perhaps he can develop into something more. Last year, he had 13 catches, 6 carries. He's 5'11", 185. I think there's a strong chance he plays more real wide receiver stuff. He's been a special teamer, gadget guy, and played mostly in the slot his first 3 years. So he doesn't really overlap with the other receivers that much. And behind them, I mean, you got a clear top 5, I think, and I'm not sure there's anything else worth mentioning below this. We have another Nakua. Tay Nakua is back. He played 16 snaps last year. But otherwise, we're talking freshmen, redshirt freshmen of all 3-star caliber or worse. We just really have no idea what this group is going to give us at this point. BYU will develop a lot of these players, but I don't know who it's going to be. So we'll have to wait and see on this, potentially get some news through this summer. But I think your top 5 are in a pretty good spot, highlighted by Chase Roberts. Tight end is going to rely on a transfer. They lost Keanu Hill and Mata'ava Ta'ase. So we moved to Carson Ryan. He's a transfer from Utah, previously of UCLA, 6'4", 255. Caught 10 passes in a very crowded Utah room last year, and he's a good blocker. So I think this is a quality transfer. His path to snap should be wide open. And that's largely because they're incumbents, I suppose. Closest thing to an incumbent, Ethan Erickson. He played 145 snaps. He was horrible. Only caught 1 pass, well below average as a blocker. This guy can't be on the field. So adding a tight end makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure what tight end is going to bring behind these guys. BYU's actually lost a lot of really good transfers at this position. This is one they had recruited well, but like Reiner Swanson's off the roster. There's not a lot left for this team because of the transfers that have departed. So I have Noah Miyake out there as the second or third string tight end. I have no idea how that's going to shake out. That's a summer camp battle. Up top, Carson Ryan provides a decent floor. I don't think you've got much behind him. Offensive line lost 3 starters. Both tackles, Caleb Etienne, Braden Kime, center Connor Pay. Pay got injured about halfway through last year, so we did get some snaps from the backup, but we'll go left to right with the projected starters on this unit. Left tackle right now projects to be Michigan transfer and former 4-star Andrew Gentry. He's in his 4th year now. He played 115 snaps last year. He's never been able to get on the field with Michigan. There's not exactly shame there. They have a much different level of recruit than BYU. So I think he's probably somewhere below the 4-star ranking that was initially given to him, but should be good enough to play at BYU. He's an unknown black box guy at this point. Left guard, they returned Waylon Luapaho. He is a 2-year starter with BYU, and he actually started with Utah State in 2022 before he transferred. Luapaho is a good pass blocker, better than a run blocker. He only allowed 11 QB pressures all year, so left guard is set. Center Bruce Mitchell had to play 472 snaps after Pay got hurt last year. He was another player that he actually struggled in the run game, but he only allowed 8 QB pressures, so an awesome pass blocker for this team. That's a good foundation at center. Right guard, I think, is going to be a position that comes down to the summer, but they have a couple candidates. Sonny Maccassini played 305 snaps along the interior last year. That was kind of all over the place. He wasn't just at guard. But he should be the first candidate. He was a little above average last year. And then they added a Southern Utah transfer, Kyle Safarsiak. No idea what this is for him. Just a massive jump in competition for Safarsiak. So we'll see on him. I don't really project FCS transfers into the 2 deep unless it clearly makes sense. And if you look at his metrics, he comes all the way, where is he? All the way down here at right guard. He was about an average starter in the FCS, so we're projecting below average play for him if he has to get on the field. That's pretty damning, as you're taking FCS transfers that weren't even that good at that level. Anyway, right tackle, this is where we should see some movement. They have a returning starter who was a guard last year, Austin Liusa. He played 577 snaps, and a majority of those came at guard, but he did play 73 at tackle. He was a starter at Southern Utah at right tackle prior to coming to BYU, so he has experience playing this tackle position. He only allowed 6 pressures, and he's the team's best pass blocker. I think there's a good chance we see Liusa move outside to tackle. I think right tackle is most likely, considering he's played that already, but not 100%. I mean, maybe they could try the blind side. I'm not sure. But they don't have a lot of quality reserves behind the starting 5. I think your offensive linemen, at least your 4 projected starters, and then whoever plays right guard are pretty good. But if someone has to play from the depths, I'm not sure what you're getting. Out of the players that have seen snaps, you only have Isaiah Jada, the former transfer. He played 144 last year. And Trevin Osler, he played 4. That's it. So you're going to rely on development, young players. They don't have a lot of elite recruits. Maybe they'll hit the portal again and grab someone, but it's a pretty good unit up front, but very, very thin. They're walking a treacherous line. Defense. They lost their top two edge rushers, Tyler Batty and Isaiah Bogda, which leaves Logan Latui as their most experienced pass rusher, 336 snaps. He was an above average run defender, but not a good pass rusher, only 7 pressures on those snaps. They did bring in a Texas transfer, Tassili Akana. He's unproven, couldn't get on the field with that Texas defensive line, but he is a former 4-star. That's just flat out a lot better than the other players in this unit. And I think he's got a chance to play right away because we did see 79 snaps from Bryant Strother. We saw 71 from Bodie Schoonover. Bryant Strother was awful on the field. Schoonover was a little more efficient, but man, you got no experience, no high-profile recruits. Viliami Pohua is on the team with 65 snaps too, so I think the best path for this edge rushing group is Latui takes a step forward. He's a good run defender, maybe as a pass rusher. You get 4-star play out of Akana right away, and then you don't have to play Strother, Schoonover, or Puha. I don't know, man. This is not a good edge group. Defensive tackle, they did lose their top 2 guys here as well, John Nelson and Blank Magnelson. This leaves John Tumopoa and Joshua Singh as the most experienced players, 380 and 224 snaps. These guys are both former walk-ons. They played slightly above average against the run, but this is pretty lackluster play in the interior. They did have a pair of transfers. Keanu Tanuvasa comes in from Utah. I think he probably has to see the field right away. He played 380 snaps last year. They also added Anisi Purcell from Southern Utah. Again, I'm not really super reliant on FCS transfers, but I mean, they had to bring in someone. They just don't have enough juice here at either position along the defensive line. This is a major concern from this team. The Big 12 is not the best running conference, but I mean, teams that can run the ball should just shove it right down their throat. Linebacker, you have 3 returners, Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, and Harrison Taggart. Glasker led the team with 70 tackles, 15 tackles for loss. Actually really good in coverage too. 3 PBUs, 2 INTs for Glasker. There's a really good, I mean, I would make the case he's the best defender on the entire team. But fortunately, this is a position of strength because up front they are so weak. They still have Harrison Taggart, who had another year just like Glasker, maybe not just like Glasker, but similarly to Glasker. He was 69. He had 69 tackles. That was second on the team. He also was a strong coverage player, targeted 15 times, only allowed 49 yards. Taggart is one of the rare 4-stars on this team that was recruited by BYU. So 2 places that are 2 good players to start with. But the interesting thing is both of these players saw fewer snaps than Jack Kelly, who was the biggest liability. Jack Kelly is he was this weird sort of body of work last year. He previously started at Weber State for 2 years before coming to BYU. He's 6'2", 240, but he basically was a huge liability in coverage. He wasn't the best run defender, but he was a good pass rusher. He had 28 QB pressures. I mean, I think maybe you just change this guy to sort of like a Jack Edge. I don't know. But, I mean, I don't think you can keep Glasker and Taggart off the field to keep Kelly at a true linebacker spot. So, I mean, I think they should move him around. We'll see what they do. There's not much beyond that. We have 95 snaps on a Miles Hall. It kind of is what it is. Good up top, though. This is probably the best position group on defense. Defensive back, they lost their top 2 corners, Jacob Robinson from the slot and Mark Collins. Safety crew Wakely hit the portal as well. Outside corner, you're probably going to see Maury Bamba out there. He's a former JUCO guy. He played 354 snaps last year. Pretty strong coverage numbers, only 117 yards in his coverage on 21 targets. I think the second boundary corner, at least the favorite, should be Evan Johnson. He's a former walk-on, but he played a decent amount of snaps, 230 last year. He was good on those snaps. It's just not the deepest unit overall. And then from there, slot corner is basically wide open with Jacob Robinson gone. The second most snaps in the slot actually came from linebacker Isaiah Glasker at 104. Among the corners on the roster, the most snaps are Jonathan Cabea. Cabea played 60 snaps as a sophomore last year, but there is a chance they decide to move a safety down into the slot at least part of the time because they have more depth at this position. Former walk-on Tanner Wall played 558 snaps and Tanner Wall played 558 snaps in 2024. He was fourth on the team in tackles at 53. Pretty good in coverage, but he was only targeted 9 times. So there's still a little bit to prove with him. That's a very small sample. The second safety is a little bit up for grabs, but they have a lot of guys that saw at least a few snaps. Raider DeMooney played 276. Tommy Process played 188. Talon Alfred played 59. He's played a couple years now. That doesn't even include a former 4-star. Falatau Satuwala, he's in his second season, had 119 snaps last year. So it's not it's not a proven starter. You just have Tanner Wall in that regard, but you have a lot of players that filled in here or there. Could one of them potentially go down and play the slot or maybe corner if needed? I think the answer is probably yes. And lastly, special teams were very good for this team, expecting them to be very good again in 2025. Will Farron returns. He's an elite kicker. I mean, he was perfect on extra points last year. He made 24 of 27 field goals. He made 4 of 50-plus attempts. So we got a great kicker to fall back on. We saw him win the SMU game basically on his back. Just a fantastic player overall for this team. And the special teams unit should be good. But, I mean, out of all the teams we've done so far, we have this team power ranked the worst. And that should come as no surprise. Could they end up better than like a Vanderbilt or Mississippi State on talent development? Absolutely. We see them do this often. But, I mean, on paper, the talent for this team is lackluster, and that's what you get kind of when you're recruiting in the 50s every single year. So it is what it is. We will have this tool available in maybe a week's time. We'll keep putting some teams up before we get into that. But let's talk about BYU's schedule and what we can expect before we head out of here. So they open up against Portland State, an FCS team. From there, they play Stanford, and then they have a weird week 2 bye. Go to East Carolina for their final non-conference game. Weird road trip across the country, but that is a very manageable schedule overall. And then year over year, the Big 12 is one of the hardest conferences to power rank coming into the season. It's definitely not the easiest schedule. You have road trips to Colorado, Arizona, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. There's a lot of travel within this schedule now. Luckily, you bring West Virginia into town. It's a very long road trip for them. UCF is a complete disaster with their coaching staff gone. TCU should see a little bit of resurgence, as should Utah. So it's a very tough schedule to evaluate because the Big 12 is nuanced, but you have some of the hardest road trips in the country here, especially going to Texas Tech, who could very well win this conference with the improvements they've made. Iowa State, a veteran roster. We'll see how it goes for this team, but a bowl game would be a win for this roster right now. They could probably develop into something more than that, but we'll see. It's going to take some more miracle work from Sataki, but we'll continue to evaluate the transfer portal, see what they bring in. Perhaps they bolster some positions, take some more FCS Utah schools, and pillage those rosters. But until next time, leave a comment if there's someone else you'd like to see. We will catch you guys again next time.